that's next to me. And I'm Yogi Chris, founder of Ninth Limb Yoga, captain. And talking about the peaceful warrior, it didn't have too many hashtag uses. That's why I didn't hashtag peaceful warrior. But I did hashtag separately peaceful and warrior.
Yeah.
And I forget what the last tag was. Mastery, I think. Mastery. Because I was looking up like student teacher. Will you close that?
Yeah.
Close the dot top.
Oh, yeah.
And because that's what it is. It's like becoming a masterful student.
Yeah.
Right. But you were saying in your question to me was like, you adjust the phone.
Where I was like, when you read it, I was wondering in my head, because I'm like, Chris said, if you read this or listen to this book or read this book, you will get to know and understand me and my character better.
Yeah.
But then as I was listening to it, I was like, well, are you the student or the teacher? And then I was like, I bet as Chris was reading this, he himself resonated as the student and could see like whatever his teachers in the teacher role. But me and my perspective as like Chris's or your student, like I was like, I see these situations and these scenarios take place between us on our journey over the last 6
Like
years. Like, okay, so like there was this one part in the chapter where like an old student like comes to talk to the teacher in front of like the new student, like what's his name? I don't know what his name is.
Socrates?
That student.
Or the student, yeah. Dan.
And he's like, oh, like, how's he holding up? And he's like, he's like, I'm about to answer, the old man is doing great. But the guy cuts me off and says, like, oh, you're clearly not even walking on burning coals or anything like that. And then, like, the teacher interferes and he's like, no, right now I'm teaching him how to eat. But the eating was, like, manners and all these, you know, different urges and how to know what type of nutrition you need for your body and all this different stuff. And there was a lot of like basic steps in the teaching. And then there was like another part where it was like the old man never he never like lets up on me, like he never takes no for an answer, like when he's like asking me to do discipline stuff. So that reminded me of you and I, and you know, just like all of these.
What was that last thing?
Like the not like basically like when he gives them tasks for different disciplines and he never takes no for an answer.
Oh, yeah.
But like I forget exactly how they said it, because there was just like it sounded way cooler in the book and I'm just like horrible at saying it the perfect way they say it.
Yeah, it's a total different nervous system that reads it versus speaks it.
Right. I know, which is, I'm like, I heard it in my head, like it's like a song lyric. I think I can repeat it exact, but it comes out all one word.
Yeah, so I was more of the student, but I definitely see character roles of the teacher.
Yeah.
And, you know, the roles reverse, they switch. Like it's the student, the greatest teacher was the greatest student, or was at least a very great student. So obviously they, you know, there is some, the way that the student and the teacher relate with each other, the student becomes something like the teacher. I mean, that's what they're learning from. It's unreasonable to think that they'll be so totally different. Like, obviously, if they're going to be a true master, then their mastery would include their own unique gift that makes them unique.
Oh, and then it's like the student is so panicky, and especially in the early chapters, he freaks out about like raining at a picnic and like stupid little things. But the teacher is so like calm through it all and just patient, and it's like that's you for sure.
And a lot of us are like that. Like when we first become aware of our self-talk and whatever, we may not think we're dramatizing as much as the person in the book. But if somebody were transcribing what we were saying, our words would be just as dramatic. We make dramatic the things that are not dramatic. When we complain, for example, if you wrote down word for word what somebody was saying when they were complaining, and then you read it aloud, it would sound really dramatic, like they're being all dramatic.
Yeah.
But they may not. We may not think we have that beingness, like we're flailing our arms and being all dramatic.
Yeah.
But what we're saying is literally dramatizing. And so when we read a story of someone without seeing it, our imagination will get carried away, and we'll make it a very vivid scene where it's like, I'm not all dramatic like that, but that's kind of how I was. It's like, actually, we were like that. That's pretty accurate to how I was as an uptight white guy, athlete, middle America, certain upbringing, whatever. Like, might as well have made me a push-button robot where I just like would react to things because I was programmed to react to things, and I'd made habit out of the others, my other reactions. because of my lifestyle, which was obviously unfulfilling. That's why I sought change.
Totally.
So I had a bunch of habits that were fit for the lifestyle I came from. If I want a different lifestyle, I got to change so many habits, and so many of my habits are completely unconscious. That's why there was a couple of days last week I was actually really heavy in my emotions, and I took a lot of horsepower to do shit. It was all because I missed my wake up.
Well, I feel that. The more as I'm reading this book, I'm like, I'm not even disciplined enough.
Yeah.
And I'm not disciplined enough with the little things like my
Exactly,
wake
like
up.
my body. Like I didn't tell you, I got to get my body right again. It's not right. I'm eating too much ice cream and candy, and it might seem like it's uptight to do that, but that's what I am. It's actually
like on your own or with me.
Both. I think I had some. I mean, I don't know, but I definitely
super healthy stuff when I cook it. But yesterday,
so I definitely have had stuff on my own, and then the stuff. Well, it doesn't matter. I know I'm out of line with certain ways that I know, like the order of how I'm eating and whatever, and it's effortless for me. I actually have to exert effort to go against my discipline because I feel like I'm being too uptight about my discipline.
That's amazing.
But the thing about that is that it doesn't take too long for the new lower standard to become the new discipline.
Yeah.
And then it has changed. So it's just little things like that. But like I only missed my wake up by like 20 minutes. Only missed it. But then it snowballs into this like lower standard and everything, and it trickles out everywhere. And so important. And if you miss it, then it's just so important to like admit it and acknowledge it and make it known.
I'm missing it too much.
I know, and I've been light on you because I missed it.
Dang. Well, I need to just.
So that's what happened.
Find an actual wake up time. Like it's like I'm not connected to one right now.
Yeah, that's lack of decision. What do you need to do? You make a decision. This is
I
Socrates' way, the peaceful warrior.
7:40.
So then do it.
Okay.
7:45 then.
Okay.
Or change it, but just do what you say. That's called being an honest person.
Maybe 7:40.
If you can't do what you say, you're a liar.
7:35. That's what I like. 7:30.
Okay. My Boy Scout troop was Troop 735.
Okay, perfect.
But you can always change it.
I felt
Doesn't
really
matter.
guilty this morning because I was like, I had it to look up that I was gonna do my gluteus activations, and I was just like so eager for it last night. But then this morning, because I like made my wake up, but then I went back to sleep.
So you didn't make it.
So I didn't make it, and then I didn't have time to do my gluteus activations. That's probably why I got all dramatic about everything all day.
Exactly. That's how I know. But if you don't follow through with what you say, and then you don't correct it, make it known, fix it. If you miss it, then you gotta own up to it as if everybody already knows, and they're just waiting for you to divulge the secret that you think you have. And if you don't do that, then you'll start turning a blind eye to everyone else's mistakes. And pretty soon you'll be having this big argument with someone about how they violated you, when really, why didn't you address it the first little violation? Oh, it's because you let it slide, because you've been letting your own discipline slide, and you're blind to their. You know what I'm saying?
True.
That's what it is. That's how ethics works. So it's what it is. And then if you
especially that on letting it slide because you feel guilty about yourself or something.
Exactly. That's what it is. You don't want to be put into, and then
we're like that
you think and then you think someone else is being too critical on you, but you're not realizing how disciplined they are with themselves. And so they have to be critical of you if you're going to be around them. Like, you can't be around lazy people. That's the problem with people like trying to learn game or whatever's on masculine mindset. I don't know. Some people will see this, whatever. And that I get discovered on YouTube because I use these hashtags. So a lot of times there's viewers that like don't even have any reality on what this is. IMC Nation movement, whatever. So we're about to be at the post office.
A lot of times I felt it that like even at the beginning and early stage, first like connected with you via YouTube when I was out of state, I just felt like even if I would just come on middle of a stream that you had on maybe YouTube or Instagram or somewhere, it would always be just like exactly the message I needed to hear. And so I just feel faithful that you speak in those ways where people find you and they, you always hit a chord.
What it is when I lecture or go on like some monologue or whatever, I'm getting better at doing it in dialogue, but in dialogue you can get pulled off your subject. even in monologue, you'll learn as you do your lectures, like you lose your way. It's like, what was I talking about? So when I talk, I've learned from having to keep the attention of the audience, particularly when you're selling your services, because then you'll literally lose income if you talk nonsense. Like, you gotta give value, actually.
Yeah, totally.
So to give value, you gotta make sense.
Yes.
And so then you'll start catching where you stop making sense, you lose the audience, you're not making sense. So if you can make yourself keep making sense, not having to jump around subjects, but like keep it making sense. It should even make sense when you change subject.
Yeah.
You're trying to get ahead.
Yeah.
So when you do that, because the person's in a dark state, because they're not making sense, they're in confusion, and you may not even give them advice about exactly what they're confused about, but the fact that you are making sense as you talk, if they follow your logic long enough, eventually they'll have something click where they thought you were going to say something else because what they were thinking didn't make sense. Then you said something else that made sense, and they saw that 2 + 2 actually equals 4.
Yeah.
2 + 2 doesn't equal 7, whatever you were trying to make it make.
Yeah.
And as you're following the lecturer's logic, something will click where something will make sense that didn't make sense before. And it will be that perfect thing that you just needed to hear,
Yeah.
even though it had nothing to do with what your problem was.
Right.
So very
Or
rarely
even
it does.
What the point was of the person who was talking, they didn't know they would affect you with one.
And with that thing,
Yeah.
because all they were doing was
Yeah.
making sense.
Yes,
And all the
yes.
person needed was for their life to start
Yeah.
making sense, because they weren't making sense to themselves.
I feel that.
And what that a general way to think about that is that your problem is a problem in the mindset. It's a mental problem. That's what the problem is. And that means the solution's also mental. And that the difference between the problem and the solution is a mindset shift, which could be called like a frequency shift. And you just got to change your frequency. Your problem is a problem of a certain frequency of consciousness. That when you raise your frequency of consciousness, it's no longer a problem. You solve your own problem, because the problem is just a personal, subjective mental problem.
Yeah.
And there's nobody can actually give you the solution. They can give you words and ideas and things, and you adopt them, and you find the solution in your own mind to that problem. And that's actually every problem.
You know what? Everything you're saying right now is making me realize in my head it's just solving a problem. It's solving.
What's solving a problem?
What you were just saying.
That what I'm saying is solving a problem?
Yeah, like as you were saying, you were bringing like a huge realization to me about like the effect of my talk that I have on Sundays and my ability to have confidence in the way that I deliver the message. Something about the title of calling it a talk is not aligned with the energy of what the talk is. Like, I don't like that title, the talk.
What is your title of your show?
It's Mystic Morning, but it's talk. It's
Mystic Morning Talk?
Yeah. And I also don't like the word like lecture, but I also don't know that I like the title Mystic Morning anymore. I want it, and I don't want it to be called a talk. I don't know. I don't think it's a lecture. I don't know what it is. I'm not liking the idea of a women's group where I'm trying to get women to be together and supportive.
What about divine inspirations?
Oh, I like divine inspirations.
So that way, whatever you talk about is divinely inspired topics.
That's beautiful.
Divine inspirations.
And I can make a new flyer and just have a different way of promoting it, because I don't even promote it. And I kind of just basically expect and defend, and I'm like, okay, maybe Hannah will come and Elo, and I'm kind of gotten complacent, and I even think some days I'm not even inspired, but the moment I go live on Instagram, everything's divinely inspired. Like, I get these kind of
we're gonna roll out pretty quick.
Okay, perfect.
I'll walk around and get you.
But
I'm ending the stream, guys. Guys, click the links in the bio, get involved. I'm sure that was great for you guys.